Hello, twisted humans.
Do you find yourself wanting to know more about the latest murder, conspiracy, cult, or haunting?
Then this is the podcast for you. I'm Alecia.
And I'm Sierra, and this is
Twisted and Uncorked.
You know how I told you that sometimes I see little orbs in my kids' room?
Yes, on your ring.
It's
camera
called
thing?
a blink, but yes.
Okay, a blink.
Yeah. So, I think I figured out why. And I have a video.
Hopefully it's not ghosts.
No, I think it is. But, so,
No, it's still ghosts.
My daughter has this dresser that is super old. It's apparently from the colonial times. That's what the people who sold it to us said. It's from colonial times. It's a super old dresser. And it used to be just...
Did you buy it from the set of friends?
No, I just bought it from, like, some random person on Craigslist.
I'm making fun of you.
Oh.
But yeah.
Oh.
Because it's from colonial times.
Yeah. I knew those people. Their names were Damon
It's from Pottery
and
Report. It's from Pottery
Salvatore.
Oh my god.
No. But... So, it used to be in her room, and, like, just out there, and I would see these little orby things all the time, and I was just
it's a haunted object.
Whatever,
for sure.
It's just dust, it's fine. And then I put it in her closet, and I didn't see it anymore. The little orbs. Well, the other night, I left the closet door open, and I saw the orbs again. So, I'm
Oh my god, are you showing me the video?
Yes. Wait, no, don't delete.
I'm scared.
Let's see if you can see.
Oh my god, I'm scared. It's like an episode of Paranormal Activity.
There it was. Did you see it?
Yeah! What the fuck?
I know, it's so creepy. I don't remember if it comes back or not. But, oh my god. And that was the night that I left her closet door open, which is where her dresser is now. So I'm pretty sure we have some colonial spirit tied to this dresser.
Oh, yeah,
It's creepy.
You need to sage it.
That's a good idea. I haven't told her, of course.
Oh, of course.
I don't want to tell her.
She'll never sleep again, and that really, really adversely affects you.
Yeah. So I just always look at it like, oh my gosh, I wonder if it's a good person in there. I hope it's a good person in there.
When we're done your story, I will screen share with you, and I will show you I don't know if you saw it, the one of mine. It's on our Patreon.
Oh, I think I have saw it, but I want to see it again.
Like, where it goes like...
Yeah. So crazy.
So creepy.
I really want a spirit box.
We'll save up for one.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get a joint spirit box. We'll share custody of it.
Yes. There's also... I don't know how I've never noticed this, but, like, when I'm driving to my house from my kids' school through the neighborhood, in the neighborhood, there is this little patch literally right in front of a house of fenced off land that just has a bunch of random headstones in it.
Ew.
There's like a random ass cemetery in the middle of my neighborhood that I've never noticed before.
Ew.
Until recently. Yeah, it's super creepy, but
there's that in
check it out.
Maple Ridge, which is like a city over from where I am. Mm-hmm. It's over the bridge. And there's
but like
it's like a random cemetery. It's not like an actual cemetery.
Oh, yeah,
it's just got headstones.
Yeah, it's literally like a 10 by 10 feet by 10 feet branched area.
It's like somebody's backyard where I've seen it. And I'm like, what the fuck is that?
It's so creepy. I don't understand why people do this.
Ugh. Yeah.
Creepy
It's like your private family, graveyard.
But, I mean, at the same time...
Didn't want to pay for a plot of land, so I'm just going to bury you in my backyard.
At the same time, I really want to be buried, like, under a tree. Like, ashes, but in a tree. So I want to grow into a tree.
Oh, I love
so
that.
I kind of want to be in my kid's backyard, you know?
Yeah, but that's different. That's not, like, with a headstone.
Yeah, I don't need a headstone.
Like, they could do something cute and put, like, a little plaque on your tree.
Yeah. That would be nice.
Right? Like, in memory of Mom. And it's just like, Tree.
I want to be a tree in my next life, please.
That's a beautiful goal.
Thanks. So, yeah, anyway, welcome to Twisted and Uncorked. This is a podcast.
Where we talk about being trees.
Being trees, that's what we're talking about.
But we're also going to talk about some other things.
This week, we're going to talk about a haunting. And I'm so excited to do that. But first, if you still have that wine from last week.
Yes. I in fact have a vat of what you're about to describe because this is
we're making sangria.
This is like the equivalent of a jug, but it's solo edition.
That's the best way. All right,
it's Friday, guys.
So
it's Mardi Gras.
It was
Mardi Gras
last week. All right, so you need 3 oranges cut into wedges, or 1 cup of orange juice, 1 lemon cut into wedges, 1 lime cut into wedges, 25 ounces of white wine, 2 ounces of brandy, 2/3 cup of white sugar, and 2 cups of ginger ale or club soda. And I made...
Or if you're trash like Alecia, you can use a lime White Claw.
There you go. I made a cupful instead of a pitcherful, so, you know, I'm a little trashy over here, too. I just, eyeballed the brandy, and then I squeezed in some oranges and some lemons and some limes, then I put in a bunch of wine, and I topped it off with some ginger ale.
It's delicious.
There you go. It's really sour, but it is so good.
It is so good. It's very, this would be, a really good one to drink in the summer,
Yes,
I feel like.
Definitely.
Yeah. This is, a backyard, sitting in your lawn chair, jug of sangria type sangria.
Very, very citrusy. It's so good,
But it's really good.
Yep. All right. Are we ready to get into this creepy story?
Oh, okay. I had a random fact.
Oh, you can tell a random fact, yes.
Do you want to hear
Yes,
it?
I do.
Did you know that the world's largest waterfall is actually underwater?
What? No, where?
Yeah. Yes.
Where is this?
So I'll send you... Okay, can I screen share with you? Can I show you?
Yeah, hang on,
It's insane.
Let me let you. Multiple. Okay, now.
So the world's largest waterfall is at the Denmark Strait, and the cold water from the Nordic Sea along the island is a lot denser and so the warm water makes it drop almost 2 miles down a second, and it is insane, and it looks so cool.
This sounds dangerous. And also,
I want to go. It's the world's largest water, but it's underwater. It does. I don't think you should swim in it. I think that's a bad idea.
Bad ideas never stopped me before.
Look how pretty it is. So that's the waterfall dropping off the edge of the island.
Whoa!
But it's all underwater. Isn't that insane?
Holy cow. That is insane.
I know. I saw that and I was like, that's not real. But then I was like, science. It makes sense. The temperature difference would make it drop that quickly. So it's an underwater waterfall.
I am terrified of the ocean after the last 2 episodes. Shit.
That's where the aliens are in the underwater waterfalls.
What is down there? God.
I know, our fun facts have taken a serious a dive, if you will.
A dive.
This is why I need a soundboard, so when I make bad puns.
But
yeah. Yes. Guys, I need a soundboard. I promise I won't abuse it. I will abuse it.
It'll be great, though. It'll be great.
I will abuse it. Don't get me a soundboard.
Oh, my God.
I'm going to save up for one. It's going to happen.
Yes, I think you need one. I agree.
The amount of bad... I like it when Sierra catches my bad puns. I throw them in a lot, but whether or not she catches them is another thing.
I love punny content. It's my favorite.
I do. It's like...
Dad jokes, favorite thing in the whole world. I love it so much.
Dad jokes are the best.
The best.
everybody's like, it's the low-hanging fruit. I'm like, but it's hilarious.
It's so fucking funny. Like, I wish I was a dad. For dad jokes.
You're allowed to make mom jokes, too.
Mom jokes are not a thing. Moms aren't funny. Moms are
My mom's
naggy.
pretty funny. But my mom's unintentionally funny. All right, I'm ready. I'm ready to get spooky. I'm comfy. I have a entire pitcher of sangria.
Time to be haunted.
I'm already on it. Don't make it worse.
Okay, so.
That light is still off.
That's creepy.
And Kevin shook the light bulb. The light bulb's not dead. Sorry, that was what was happening while you were making your sangria.
Oh, okay.
I made him come out and check the light bulb.
All right. So I really wanted to cover this topic because it is somewhere that I have always wanted to visit. Actually, we were just talking about it.
Oh, so weird.
So I honestly don't know where I first heard about it, but I remember it always being in the back of my mind. Like, one day I'm going to go there. After doing research, I have found that many sources have decided that this is all a hoax, and it's never been proven. So I was a little skeptical at first, but I feel like people calling something a hoax is a super frequent thing that happens when someone is scared of it and can't prove that it's really happening. Like, it's a
cover-up.
It's a defense mechanism, you know? Like,
Yeah,
most normal people say that Mothman is a hoax or that Bigfoot is a hoax. But we're not normal people, so I'm just going to leave out all of that hoax information and go into this haunting. Just keep your third eye open.
Yeah?
Yeah. All right.
Anything can happen, guys.
Anything can happen. Just don't stop paying attention to the world around you.
Exactly.
Okay.
Head always on a swivel.
Yes. So, first, a little bit of backstory. The incidents that created the hauntings that I'm going to discuss happened in the late 1800s or early 1900s in Portland, Oregon.
Oh, damn. I was like, New Orleans? You said we were covering back-to-back New Orleans. That makes sense, though.
Yes, we were just talking about this as well. You guys just didn't hear it.
Idea. I just think we should plan a Seattle-New Orleans trip.
Yes,
Or, sorry,
of
a
course.
Seattle-Oregon trip
Of
for
course,
us.
yeah.
And then just go.
Yeah, for sure. We're going to go here.
Yeah.
I'm nervous, but we're going to go. So,
Go. Why are you nervous? Oh,
let me tell you.
Okay.
Let me tell you.
I was like, because of me? It's because I'm taller than you, isn't
That's
it?
it. That's it right there. So, the mayor around this time was Mayor Harry Lane. And he was a pretty cool dude, in my opinion. At least for, being a political figure such a long time ago.
Harry Lane. It's got
Harry Lane. He was the mayor in 1905, and his views seemed to be very ethical. He was not a quote-unquote party man, so he didn't claim to be Republican or Democrat, and this related well to the quote-unquote common people of the time. Just the middle-class normal people trying to just live their lives. Mayor Lane's...
Classy bitches.
Yes. Mayor Lane's political beliefs included national support for the women's suffrage movement. Again, this is 1905. Where he was named as a friend of the movement for equality between the sexes when he swore in one of the first female police officers in the United States, Lola Baldwin. Awesome.
That's a badass name.
Yes, it is. I love it. And his political beliefs also included exposing and correcting the wrongs suffered by Native Americans at the hands of the European immigrants to America. And he unveiled a statue of Sacagawea in their honor. It's amazing. Again, 1905.
Yeah.
He was doing
He's
great things
thinking
from the
so
beginning.
ahead of his time,
Yes.
yeah.
It's amazing. By the way, I got all that information from Wikipedia. So if any of that's wrong, take that up with them.
Take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah. Okay. So, anyway, he was a cool dude. And I really only introduced him because the story... that's not what I wrote. I only really introduced him to this story because He was the mayor at the time of the alleged incidents that were happening that later caused hauntings, and there is a bit of information that can back it up in regards to the mayor. So, like, the mayor has to do with the hauntings, in my opinion.
Okay.
All right. We'll get back to that, but first let's talk about the part of Portland where these hauntings are happening and how it came to be that way. The city of Portland, Oregon, allegedly installed tunnels under their city's buildings in the early years that I mentioned, like the late 1800s through the early 1900s. The history on this is fuzzy. Either the ground used to be lower and then when roads were formed, buildings were higher up, and the underneath was just the land where buildings and businesses used to be, or the tunnels were put in to help with the flooding that was happening on the roads. So the water would just go under the building and let out at the docks. Or the tunnels were put in to allow ships at the docks to bring in supplies directly to the buildings through these tunnels without causing congestions on the streets. Or maybe it's just a mix of all of these things. Nobody really knows.
Okay.
It's just
it's like, holy
something
shit, there's so many
happened.
options.
Whatever the reason, there are...
Underground tunnels are freaky always.
Yes, they are. And they're there. That's... nobody knows why.
We know that.
Okay, but they are there right now, today. They look like just normal, sketchy storage-type basements, but they all connect together by doors to create little passageways. So they're tunnels. And the tunnels lead all around Portland, from Chinatown to downtown and all the way to the docks. For a time in the 1920s, the tunnels came in handy during the Prohibition. Illegally smuggling alcohol from the docks to the tunnels and into the speakeasies was super convenient and allegedly happened often.
I want to go to a speakeasy.
Me too. Oh my god.
I didn't mean to make that
No,
sound.
it is okay. The 20s is my favorite fucking decade ever. I love it
That's
so
like
much.
my favorite part of Riverdale when they make
Yes!
the speakeasy. I'm like, I need to
Same.
be a part of this. I've not ever been to a speakeasy, but I've been to an underground bar in Seattle.
Really?
And when you and I go together, I will take you. It's called the
Yes!
Pharmacy. It's
Take
an underground
me.
bar. There's an entrance only to the bar through another restaurant that no one knows about. We found it on accident.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome.
It's so swanky. There's like neon lights on every wall.
That's amazing.
It's like, it looks like an old bomb shelter. It's so weird.
I plan on, so I'm 28 right now. No, I'm not. I'm 27 right now. Am I 27? How old are we?
Yes. We're 27.
Okay.
Yours is the 22nd, right?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
We'll
we're 4 days
be
apart.
28 this year.
Yes.
I plan on, for my 29th birthday, I plan on having a huge roaring 20s party to, like, celebrate the end of my 20s. Like, my 20s are over, let's have a 20s party.
I am coming and I'm
Yes.
bringing a flapper dress.
I have a flapper dress in my closet right now, so...
You're ready.
Yes, I fucking love the 20s. Okay. Anyway.
Me and Sierra decided a long time ago that we were born in the wrong decade.
Yes, of course. So this is one of the reasons why it's not surprising to me that there's no record of the tunnels being used for worse things before and after the Prohibition era, because if the police knew about the tunnels being used for illegal activities in the beginning, then...
They would have been shut down.
Right,
or
they
filled
wouldn't
in or
have gotten
something, yeah.
away with illegally smuggling liquor. But they did. It happened.
That would be where you would find me.
Yes. So let's get into the incidents that caused the hauntings. We are going to be talking about Shanghaiing. Have you heard of it?
No.
No. Wow. Okay. I'm glad.
Shanghaiing.
Yeah. So there's actually multiple different things that this word means depending on what source you use, but in every case it comes down to human trafficking and slavery.
Okay.
Some sources say that people of Asian descent were brought in from overseas, taken from the ships at the port, through the tunnels, and delivered to businesses in Portland to work as slave laborers. But the most common story is that people were being taken out of the Portland businesses. Sometimes they were poor men who were offered a loan by a business person. The person would offer them a loan with extremely high interest. knowing that the poor man couldn't pay it back, and then they'd tell the man to pay it back by going to work on a ship as a sailor, or else. But most of the time, they were just drunk men who probably had a drug slipped into their drink and then were taken into the night without their knowledge, through the tunnels to the port, and loaded onto a ship to work as a slave laborer. And the ships went as far as Shanghai. That's why it was called Shanghaiing.
Shanghai. Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
It is.
Makes sense.
Shanghaiers waited at the bars for men and sometimes even women to be drunk enough or not paying attention enough to slip them a drug or an extra shot or even just whack them over the head, whatever they had to do to render them unconscious. Then they'd push them down a deadfall, which was like a trapdoor, that led into the tunnels. Yeah, it's just like you pulled a lever and the fucking floor opened and they just fell in.
Oh, the lever, Kronk.
Yeah. In the tunnels, they dragged them to like this little makeshift prison cell, and outside of the little cell, there were shards of broken glass all through the tunnels, and the Shanghaiers stole the prisoners' shoes so that the prisoners would hurt themselves on the glass if they tried to escape. So then, like, they can't run away. Like, if they do run away, we'll just follow the trail of blood that they're leaving with their feet because they're not wearing any shoes. We'll get them back.
On all this broken glass.
Yeah, it's insane.
This sounds like a Looney Tunes cartoon.
It does. It really does.
That's insanity.
But I mean, all those took place back in that day, so.
It's true. The Looney Tunes were absolutely a part of the Prohibition.
Yes.
No one can tell you otherwise.
Once the ships were docked, the captains would come and look through the captured options. They'd buy an They'd buy an able-bodied man for $50 to work on their ship as a slave, or they'd buy a visit with a woman who was now a sex slave to the Shanghaier. Yeah. Like I said in the beginning, there is no written proof that Shanghaiing ever took place, but I did find just a little piece of a newspaper clipping that may shed some light. I couldn't find the whole story in print, but the headline reads, quote, "Sailors must be slaves no more. Mayor Lane declares boarding house monopoly cannot flourish in Portland while he holds office. Sends caustic message." End quote. So again, I have no idea what specific incident this is in regards to, but I can imagine it has something to do with the Merchant Hotel. The Merchant Hotel was a hotel for merchants, obviously. Self-explanatory. There you go. Many sailors and shipworkers stayed here when they were in port. And all around the Merchant Hotel were businesses with trapdoors for Shanghaiing. Like, even the fucking bartenders were in on it. Like, they could
just like,
pull the lever. Yeah. Like, I'm gonna make some money. This guy's, drunk. Might as well get some money for him. Whatever.
We're gonna, like, can you imagine, like, not to put too much humor into that because that's horrible, but can you imagine being that drunk person? Like, being so drunk that you don't remember your night.
Yeah.
But you went through a trapdoor, like.
Right. Yeah, no. Well, sometimes they were drugged. A lot of times they were drugged.
Yeah.
Or just hit over the head. But either way, in every single one of these situations, like, if I just want to go out and have a fucking drink, can people leave me the fuck alone? You know?
And not put me through a trapdoor.
Right? I don't want the floor to fall, okay? I don't want that.
I would like to stay on the right area on the ground, okay? Keep me above the ground. I don't want to go to the tunnels.
So the Merchant Hotel sat directly above the underground tunnels. Or part of them, anyway. The underground tunnels went forever. So the hotel was often also frequented by prostitutes. And I say prostitutes not to mean the same thing as sex workers, but to mean sex slaves. So the prostitutes, quote unquote, at this time didn't choose to be there. They were kidnapped and sold off to guys staying at the hotel.
Sad.
Exactly.
I can accept that as a profession if you choose to
right,
do it.
Right.
But...
If it is your choice, that's your choice. It is work. I get it. But if it is not your choice and you're a slave, that is not okay.
That's horrible. Yeah.
One of the sex slaves at this time was named Nina, or so everyone thought.
Okay.
She was a Native American woman who was kidnapped by European immigrants and forced into sex slavery in the late 1800s. Nina was killed when she was pushed down an elevator shaft at the hotel. Who pushed her is unknown, and I doubt it was even investigated because she was a sex slave. But now she is considered to be Portland's most famous ghost.
Well, yeah, she's like, fuck you.
Yes.
Nobody's gonna look for me.
Part of the building that used to be the Merchant Hotel is now a pizza place called Old Town Pizza. There are many reports of Nina's presence still lurking in this pizza shop to this day. In 2013, a manager gave an interview to Beer Traveler TV, which is a YouTube account. God, I can't speak. Let me breathe for a minute.
English is hard.
It is so hard.
And you enjoyed your wine, so.
I did. I really liked the wine from the last episode. A lot more than I thought I would.
And the sangria is delicious. You're 2 for 2, my friend.
All right. So, in 2013, a manager gave an interview to Beer Traveler TV, which is a YouTube. YouTube is a hard thing to say when you're about to say it out. It's a YouTube, guys. A YouTube account.
Because you're so eloquently spoken, other than YouTube. That's
A YouTube? All right. Anyway, the manager said that there isn't a day that goes by that something strange doesn't happen. He says that chairs move on their own, candles
As they do.
are lit on their own,
Oh.
which is the creepiest thing.
I can deal with them going out on their own, but for them to be lit on
that's
their own
fire.
is another issue.
That's fire. So I don't like it.
Yeah. At least you can blame it on a stiff breeze.
Right.
If it goes out. But how do you explain that otherwise?
He also says that people are seen and heard walking around the building when there is no customers present.
Awesome.
And that pictures fall from the walls.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Then in this video, he even gives a personal experience story that sticks out to him. He says he was upstairs in the banquet room about 7 or 8 a.m. He was the only one in the building, and a chair pulled out in front of him as if it wanted him to sit in it.
No, goodbye.
So creepy. I would walk straight past that chair. Like, no, I'm not sitting in that. Are you crazy?
I'm actually done for the day. I was about to clock out.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing it. Sorry. Other people who visit the Old Town Pizza report feeling someone tugging on their shirt, breathing on their neck. Strong, they smell perfume in the area that is gone in an instant. And most...
Okay, Kevin smells that all the time in our apartment.
Really?
He smells a weird perfume.
That's creepy.
And it's not mine. He's always like... I'm like, what are you smelling? He's like, it smells like old lady perfume.
Oh.
And he gets like random whiffs of it. It's weird.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's so
Sorry.
creepy.
Ick, yeah. But he's the only one that smells it. I don't smell it.
Yeah, smells are definitely a paranormal thing.
Yeah, that's gross.
Creepy as fuck. Most often at Old Town Pizza, people see a woman in a dress descending the stairs when there is no one there. Yeah, super creepy. So there's this podcast called Paranormal History, and it is hosted by Bree, who is a medium, and Naomi, who is an empath. And the two of them actually went and explored these haunted places in Portland. While there, Bree said she saw the woman descending the stairs at Old Town Pizza while they were eating. And the two of them also went on a guided tour of some of the underground rooms that were once connected and made up the tunnels. And in the tunnels, Bree didn't see any spirits, but she did at one point feel someone breathing on her neck.
No.
Yeah.
I can't deal with that part.
I know. But I want to go through these tunnels so bad.
That would be really cool.
I know.
Like, it gives me, like, have you seen the movie Us? It's a scary movie. It's basically like everybody has an evil double.
Yes, I have. That's the
so
one
those
with
rooms, those under
the family in there. They go to the circus or something, and she's like,
yeah.
Yes.
So like all the that's what that reminds me of, all those underground rooms.
Ugh, yeah, creepy as fuck.
And unfortunately, the bunnies. But I don't like to talk about the bunnies.
Yeah, let's not talk about that part. Anyway, okay. Another incident.
But that's what I'm picturing.
I get it. I'm picturing that too. Another incident that is said to have occurred in the tunnels is a sort of possession. Apparently, right? Yeah. Apparently, Nina may not have been named Nina after all. Oh. The reason this woman was given the name Nina is because when she was found dead at the bottom of the elevator shaft that she was pushed into,
It's a horrible way to die.
It really is. But the name was etched on the wall above her. So someone just like scribbled Nina into the wall. But if she fell to her death, she probably didn't write that herself. So maybe the name was already written there before she died by someone else whose name was Nina and who had just been in the space back when it was a stairwell, before it was an elevator, like nothing to do with death. This girl just fell down. I mean, obviously she still died at the bottom of the elevator shaft, but it had nothing to do with the name written.
Yeah.
The reason people think this is because there was a possession, obviously.
As all good stories start.
Right? So, this group of bridesmaids, like a bachelorette party, went through the tour of the underground area. And there was a really drunk girl who was with the group. They were all really drunk. But the drunkest of them went with the group. And they were all slurring their words and, acting like drunk people do, not paying attention to the tour. And then the girl who was probably the most drunk just froze up, looked around, walked to a completely different part of the room, and said, "She wants to know why you're back again. She wants to know why you keep calling her Nina." And then she walked back over to the group and snapped out of it. And everyone was staring at her, and she was like, "What? What just happened?" Like, she had no idea what she just said. Super fucking creepy.
I hate that.
Yeah. There's actually a video of a tour guide explaining this story on the YouTube channel called The Haunting of Sunshine Girl Network. She was the tour guide who was, the person giving the tour at the time that bachelorette party went through.
Ooh!
So fucking scary.
That is absolutely terrifying. And also, that is my type of bachelorette party.
Yes, for sure. Like, maybe not the so drunk you're not paying attention, but I am sure going through a fucking haunted tour. Yeah. So I also watched an episode of Ghost Adventures where Zach Baggins and his crew visit the Portland tunnels.
Fucking Zach Baggins.
Mm-hmm. They meet with a man named Michael P. Jones, who is like the all-knowing god of the tunnels. He owned one of the tour companies that take you through. Sorry! Too much drinking or not enough? They meet with a man named Michael P. Jones, who was like the all-knowing god of the tunnels. He owned one of the tour companies that take you through the underground. He started the business a long time ago because he didn't want the history of the area to be erased. So he started in like the 70s.
Good for him.
Yeah. But you can often find videos of him telling the Watchers not to take things from the underground because it is evidence of the history that was there. And apparently, like, lots of people go in and take things. And that's why it's increasingly harder to prove that the legends are true.
Oh, people suck. I thought you were going to tell me that they were, like, horribly cursed or haunted or something.
I wish. Michael P. Jones once said that all the naysayers that he is actually... That's not what I said. Huh. Michael P. Jones once said to all the naysayers that he has actual hard evidence and proof of the things that did take place, and he planned to publish it all in his book to show the world, but sadly Michael P. Jones passed away last year.
Oh no!
So I don't know if the book will ever be made widely available. I did see that he wrote it or started writing it, but I couldn't find it available anywhere to read or for sale. So,
boo.
I know. It sucks. Anyway.
Damn it, Michael P. Jones.
I know. Come back. There was a obituary page about him, and so many people wrote so many nice things about him, and I was just like, oh my god.
Tearing up at your computer.
Yeah. Why are you gone? We need you in the haunted world.
We have questions that only you have answers to.
Seriously. So Zach Baggins and their crew spoke with a few other workers in the area as well. Workers from the tours, workers from the businesses around the area, and some of them had a few paranormal experiences of their own. One man said that he and two others were digging in the tunnels for evidence and finding old shoes that they assume were taken from the Shanghai victims because, you know, they had to work on glass.
I can only imagine also that when you fly through a trapdoor that your shoes...
Yeah, probably. They just fall right off.
Yeah.
While they were digging for the shoes, they witnessed a brick being launched into the wall over their shoulders by seemingly no one. Just a brick, like, flying across the room behind you. Like, how terrifying would that be? Like,
yeah, because that could kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really.
Like, excuse me, I need to leave for the day while I go change my pants.
Yeah. Another worker, who is a woman, shows Zach and his crew the 13 wind chimes hanging all through the tunnels that they hung up. They call them spirit chimes and use them to pick up spirit energies in the area. So basically, there's no wind in the tunnels. It's all underground. No. So if it starts to move, then it's probably a ghost moving by it.
Yeah. Oh, that's terrifying.
She said she had witnessed at least one begin to swing on its own with seemingly no one in the area. Super creepy.
Yes, I hate it.
Yeah. So the Ghost Adventures tour starts in Hobo's Restaurant and Lounge in Portland. It used to be known as Laszlo's Saloon, and many of the human traffickers frequented the saloon to take unsuspecting victims into the tunnels to be shanghaied. They saw the site of the deadfall that used to be in that saloon and headed into the tunnels.
No!
Yeah. So, after leaving Hobo's, before they went to the tunnels, they actually went to talk to the local police about what they called modern-day Shanghaiing, which is, you know, people might not be forced to work on ships and, you know, go to Shanghai as slaves anymore, but Portland is still a place that's well known for human trafficking. So that's what they just, you know, considered modern-day Shanghaiing as human trafficking.
And human trafficking is, like, the scariest thing in the world to me.
Oh, my God. I don't know if I can find it, but I will try. There is literally a picture that was on my Facebook, one of my mom groups today, of someone in, like, the city over from me. They took a picture of this old white box truck, and it had, like, the cage windows and stuff. Like, it was, like, a moving, you know, like a... I don't know if you guys have this in Canada, but, like, what you see... people who do carpets, the kind of van they drive.
Yeah.
There was a little kid looking out the back window like standing up, looking out the back window. And one of the girls in my mom group took a picture of it and was like, I don't know what's going on. There is a, whatever race man driving the car and a little white girl in the back of the van, obviously not in a seat, looking out the window. When I drove past them, she was like staring out the window. I took a picture of the car and the license plate. But as I drove past them, they pulled over on the side of the road behind an old bread truck that had its, what's that thing called on the front of the car? Why can't I think of this right now?
A grill?
No, like the thing that goes up. Hood. It had the hood up. Sorry. The truck had the hood up and had its flashers on. It was an old bread truck. And she was like, maybe this random person was stopping to help this person, but I can't help but think that they were transferring this kid over from one car to another. Like, what is going on? She said she called the police, but they didn't have anything to report to her because the car, the license plate that she gave them was a temporary license plate, so it didn't come back to anything.
No.
And I was like, oh my God, you may have just witnessed human trafficking and it was a little baby.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard the Brittany Drexel case?
That sounds really familiar.
She went missing from Myrtle Beach.
No, I don't think I have.
They believe just from witness testimony that they know what happened to her, but it's really sad. Basically, she was snatched up and used for human trafficking, but she was there for spring break.
Worst.
So I want to cover it at some point, but if you don't know it super well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Because then you'll be super surprised, because it's bananas. It's so sad, because she was...
The one that makes
16?
me the most mad is the one about the family who goes on the cruise to the Bahamas.
Oh no!
I hate it so much.
Amy is her name, yeah. Today's episode is brought to you by Kind Bar. Kind is deeply committed to crafting food with real, recognizable ingredients, a disruptive notion that sparked the creation of new healthy snacking categories. Kind is unapologetic in their efforts to challenge the status quo, to shift the food industry, and empower their community and our listeners to make better, informed choices about their health. Kindness can be a transformative force for good, and that is why we are teaming up with Kind and Podgo to bring our listeners 10% or 15% for military, teachers, students, first responders, doctors, and nurses. So 10% for everybody else and 15% if you're frontline. Go to podgo.co/kind. That's podgo.co/kind. Kind Bar, creating a kinder and healthier world one snack at a time.
It makes me so mad and sad. Angry.
And she was like seen with that guy in that club and then gone. Like,
yeah.
And you're on a cruise ship. Where do you go?
I know. So, back to modern day Shanghaiing.
Yes.
One thing
equally terrifying.
Yes. One thing I will say about the Ghost Adventures episode is that I feel like it is super outdated now. Okay. I'm pretty sure it would be highly controversial if it came out as a new episode on TV today. So they go on a ride along with a police officer, and a quote-unquote prostitute is arrested and for getting into a vehicle with a client. And again, back to what I said earlier, like, sex work being illegal is silly to me. Like, if able-bodied people want to use their bodies to make money, then let them. Like, farmers use their bodies to make money by raising animals and plants and shit. And miners use their bodies to make money by digging and lifting heavy things. And if a sex worker wants to use her body by, pleasing another person, then that's fine. And I really don't think that the intentions with this episode were to...
I think it made it illegal, too, because of safety reasons.
Yeah, no, of course.
I think that's part of the illegality of it, yeah.
I think in the beginning, the main point of the legalities was people are getting hurt, this is slavery, these girls don't want to do this, but in 2021, like... people proudly are sex workers.
Yeah.
But the reason it's illegal is because it's not taxed. And America likes its money. So, like, in this episode, I think what they were trying to prove is that these women are slaves to a pimp. But at the same time, this girl literally gets arrested and there's no proof that there's a pimp. Why is she the one arrested, not the pimp? Like, that kind of puts her more in a situation that would threaten her life. Because if the pimp finds out, he's probably going to hurt her for it.
Yeah.
Because
it exposed the whole operation.
Right. Yeah, I think that the episode itself wasn't up to date.
Okay.
If it is, you know, a sex slavery type thing, then take that person in and protect them, arrest the pimp, but otherwise, like, just leave them the fuck alone.
Hurting them. Yeah. Off. I know. I hate it. I hate it as much as you do.
Yeah. So anyway, after the ride along, Zach and his crew officially go underground, and they spend a few hours alone with whatever paranormal entities may be in the tunnels with them.
No!
Mm-hmm. You know, it's Ghost Adventures, so it's always a blast.
You know what's hilarious is I have never, for all of the years that I've listened to Christine Schieffer shit talk Zach Baggins, and am dressed up as him for Halloween one year, and it was a really good costume. I have never seen an episode of Ghost Adventures.
Really?
They don't play it here. I've never
my
seen it on TV or anything, or on
it's
any
on,
streaming channel.
What do I watch it on? I think I watch it on Hulu.
I don't have Hulu.
I think.
Boo.
Yeah.
Next time you watch Ghost Adventures, bring your computer in with you.
It's really not that good, honestly. They are extremely, what's the word? Like, I can't think of the right word to use. Like, basically...
Is it cheesy?
No, it's not cheesy. It's like everything that you're not supposed to do. So, like...
So disrespectful.
Extremely disrespectful. Zach Baggins...
I've heard that he, mocks...
Yes! He'll literally go in there and be like, stuff. I dare you to scratch me right now. You can't do it. You're not strong enough. You're not going to show yourself. You're a wimp. Like, dude, calm down.
That's so
calm
rude.
The fuck down. That is not how you talk to a spirit. They are a being. Maybe not a human being, but they're a being. Okay? Like, chill
and
the
obviously
fuck out.
that spirit is there because of some disturbance. Yeah. They're not able to move on. Yeah. So
he's really evil to them, and it makes me sad.
Yeah, I saw a clip on YouTube of him on that doll island.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that doll island is scary as shit.
Island is so scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I usually stick to BuzzFeed's Unsolved.
Love BuzzFeed Unsolved.
Yeah, Unsolved True Crime and Unsolved Supernatural both are way better than Ghost Adventures in my opinion. But
so I'm not missing out.
Yeah, they didn't ever go to the Portland tunnels, so I had to find something. So
no, this is super cool. But I was just like, I've heard a lot of people talk about Zach Baggins, but I've never watched Ghost Adventures.
Yeah, it's just.
But I don't have anything to watch it on. I just have clips on YouTube. So, and I've seen his cameraman get possessed a few times.
The episode I watched is all online. It was free to watch online. It actually wasn't on Hulu. Yeah. Because only season 9 through 13 is on Hulu. This is season 6, episode 4, and it's on travelchannel.com or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll watch it after.
Yeah.
Ooh, I'm spooked.
It's in the sources too, so you can just click on it.
Of course.
Okay. So, above ground, it was daytime, but there was no sun shining into the underground, and all they have is their cameras with their video lights and their flashlights. And they use one of those spirit boxes, like the one that searches through radio frequencies really fast.
Yeah.
Which I want so bad. And...
What did I call it? An electrotransmitter? I don't know if that's right.
Yeah, something like that. BuzzFeed calls it a spirit box. All I know is that it goes through the channels so fast that you can't hear anything. So...
And when you play it back afterwards,
when a ghost gets into it, it actually makes sense whereas otherwise it wouldn't if there was no ghost. So,
Yeah.
like, I actually believe in those things. I think those things
I
work.
do too.
Yeah.
Like that Shanann Watts video.
Yes. Okay, so when Zach Baggins and his crew use it, they actually picked up a lot of voices. There's a woman's voice who says things like, "Where are you? He's mine. He fell.
Oh!
I can't believe you.
Oh.
What do I do? And let's get naked." Yeah. So, like, 100% they believe this is a prostitute. He's mine.
Yeah.
As in, like, oh, somebody just came in, let me get him so I can get this money.
Yeah.
He fell, like, oh, he just came through the trap door.
Yeah.
Let's get naked, obviously. So then they hear a man's voice as well, saying things like, alone, I was wasted, I was beaten, it was someone. So the woman, they think, obviously a prostitute. The man, they think, obviously someone who fell through the trapdoor. Super creepy.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
And spirit boxes are, like, very rarely, like, anything but, like, fragmented sentences, which makes it even scarier.
Yes.
Because, like, you have to interpret what the meaning is behind what you're hearing.
Yeah, it's super creepy.
But
But I really want one. Like, I really, really want one so bad. Like,
play with it outside
yes.
your daughter's dresser.
Outside of that weird little cemetery in front of my neighborhood. Like, what is that? I don't know, but I'm gonna go to it. In the episode, they also catch other strange noises and even video footage. There's a door rattling and, like, trying to be pushed open that you can hear. And then there's a little orb on camera right in front of the door. There's also the sound of footsteps in the dirt. And then they have, like, a shadow detector that they set up. And it, like, beeps if there's movement in front of it. And the camera in front of the shadow detector starts beeping. And you can actually see a little white figure, like, moving around, like it's walking, when they're hearing those footsteps. So, yeah, like, this is... I mean...
Like that ghost video I posted on Instagram.
Yeah. Like
the car.
All of this stuff could be faked. It's a TV show, whatever. It's fine. But it's still really fucking creepy. Like, that's...
Yeah.
I believe it.
Yeah.
And then there was one thing that they found that seems like it would not be easily faked. And it was a cold moving figure on a thermal imaging recorder. So there's wow, that was like the most Midwestern accent I've ever used.
I was gonna say.
There's this thing. Okay. There is the thermal imaging recorder is like one of those things where, like, you look through the video and it's like hot or cold. It's like super dark red, whatever.
Yeah.
They literally read the temperature of the things that it's recording. And obviously the temperature of a human body is like 98.6 degrees. So it shows up red on the thermal imaging camera. Red is hot.
Because
purple
we are
is
warm.
cold.
Yes.
We are warm beings. In the recording, there is a moving figure that is purple, which is cold.
No!
And it's shaped like a torso, but with no legs. And it's just, like, moving out of the doorway.
No!
And it moves out of the room that Zach is in and into the room that Aaron is in. And
no, Aaron!
They're all three in different rooms at the same time. And they're all three recording from different cameras. And at the same time as Zach is recording this thing moving away from him, Aaron starts recording. He's like, man, I'm getting really lightheaded. I think I'm about to pass out. And then he's like, oh, okay, I'm fine. And it's literally the exact second that this weird purple thing passes across Aaron. So whatever it was, this paranormal entity was moving right past Aaron, and he got sick from it.
Poor Aaron.
Fucking
Aaron
creepy.
gets the shit end of the stick all the time.
The ghosts love him.
Poor Aaron.
Yeah, it's insane. Season 6, episode 4, like I said, it's free to watch on Travel Channel's website. Super creepy. Okay.
Wow.
So
these tunnels are super creepy.
Yeah. So there are many strange occurrences by many people, and I think it would be silly to say that every single one of them are lying. At least a few must be true, right? It's definitely got to be a little bit haunted.
Yeah.
And I still definitely want to visit and find out for myself.
100%.
But, so.
With our EVP box.
Yes, but this is where I get a little more scared. There is another person who decided to go to the tunnels and find out for himself, and he actually wrote a short story about his experience on Reddit.
Oh no.
His Reddit account name is Zacharias Frost, and honestly, I'm not even 100% sure that this is a true story, but to me, it's believable, and it's creepy as shit, and...
So you're gonna share
yes,
it?
I talked to Zacharias Frost, and he gave me permission to read. Do you want to hear this story?
Yes.
Okay. This story is called The Tunnels Beneath Portland...
Oregon?
There we go. Sorry, I'm just reading wrong. The tunnels beneath Portland hide a terrible secret. Alright, this is how it starts. Portland, Oregon is a weird city, and most of the people living here will tell you that. Hell, the most popular bumper sticker is one that literally says, "Keep Portland weird." I recently found out, though, that the city may be a little too weird for my liking. There are a set of tunnels which run beneath the streets of Portland, known as the Shanghai tunnels. These tunnels were once used by bootleggers in the Prohibition area to secretly transport alcohol to illegal bars known as speakeasies. That was a dark and probably boring time, and an unusually sober portion of American history, but the origin of the tunnels is even darker. They were originally created in the early 1800s, so that merchants and the sailors could offload their goods without disrupting city commerce. However, there was another, much more sinister usage. It's still debated by historians now, but supposedly it was also used to transport Chinese immigrants into an indentured servitude within the city. That's where the name Shanghai Tunnels originated, and also where the term Shanghaied originally came from. Of course, throughout the years, these tunnels have garnered a bit of urban legend status. I've heard people say that they've gone in there and were chased out by some malevolent specter within. Others have said that there is some mutant cryptid that dwells down there, apparently looking like a mix between a crocodile and a giant mole or something.
I don't like either of my options.
I never believed these claims. Most of the tunnels have since fallen into disrepair, or flooded out from the Willamette River, which runs alongside them. There are some tours that you can schedule to see portions of it, but they are very limited. Most of them are now off limits, but that hasn't stopped some people. Some people in this case was me, and two of my good friends who thought it would be a good idea to go down there. I know this guy named Hector. He's a vagrant, uses a lot of drugs, and he lives homeless in downtown Portland. I first met Hector years ago when I was at a job site down there. He looked pretty miserable in the rain, so I thought the least I could do was give him $10. He was incredibly thankful for my donation, and he's remembered me ever since. I've slipped some cash off and on for a few years now, and last week I was down there again for work. I saw Hector there, gave him a few bucks, and he and I got to talking. He's an eccentric fellow, a few screws loose for sure, but he has a lot of stories to tell. Most of them involve some kind of conspiracy, like the lizard people that he says run the government from secret bases underneath Antarctica. I liked Hector, but I never really bought into any of his stories as more than fiction. That day, though, I ended up mentioning the Shanghai tunnels. Hector seemed to go stiff as I uttered the name. I don't go near the place, man. I could see the nervousness in his wide-eyed stare as he said it. Why? They're all closed down there, aren't they? I asked. Hector took a glance down and then down the block and shook his head. No, not all of them. His behavior really caught me off guard. as I'd never seen him act so reserved or look so nervous. If anything, it was usually hard to get him to stop talking. "What do you mean? What's down there?" Hector took another look around and ran a hand through his dreadlocks as he sighed. "You didn't hear this from me, all right?" I nodded, and Hector took a deep breath. "I know a guy who got in. There's a spot on the eastern end where you can still access them. Not many people know about it, but the streets know all the secrets. I don't know what that dude saw down there, but it scared him senseless. I saw him afterward. He was a wreck. He's always been a bit strange, but after he went down there, he was never the same." I eyed Hector skeptically, but I got no sense of him lying. "Dude was found about a week later in a dumpster. He had a gunshot wound in his head. They said he did it himself, but..." Hector scoffed and shook his head again, as if he didn't believe that explanation. I apologized for the loss of his friend and tried asking more about it, but Hector wouldn't answer. It may have been a bit insensitive of me, but my curiosity had suddenly been piqued. Hector didn't say much more about his late friend or what he suspected was responsible, but he did tell me how to get in. I bid Hector farewell soon after, and felt the tunnels linger on my mind for the rest of the day. Like I said, I had never bought into the superstitions about them, but Hector's story and demeanor as he told me had me incredibly curious. Whew. A couple days later, me and my two friends got together for some drinks. We started talking and getting sloshed, and eventually the topic of the tunnels arose. I told them that someone told me about a secret entrance to get inside. They weren't buying it, so I, in my slightly inebriated and overconfident state, suggested we go see for ourselves. My two friends, Chris and Devin, are very much the adventurous type. They've been on urban exploration trips in abandoned locales many times before. They are generally the types that are up for just about anything. As soon as I had spoken my challenge to them, they jumped all over it. Next thing I know, we are on our way down to the location. It was late at night, and we had packed all the gear that we thought we would need. Devin drove as I sat in the front passenger seat and gave him directions. Half an hour later, we pulled into this run-down lot in eastern Portland. The place looked abandoned. Some old warehouse that had sat unused for quite a while. Its architecture looked quite old, and that was a good sign for us. The tunnels connect to dozens of old buildings in the area. Many older hotels, markets, and even some homes have entrances in the basements to gain access to the tunnels. Like I said earlier, most have been sealed up by this point, but apparently not all of them. I felt a cold chill creep down my spine as Chris and Devin strapped on their equipment. I knew being there was a bad idea, even without seeing the foreboding building and plethora of trespassing signs. Yet despite that, I was determined to see the elusive tunnels for myself. We hopped the fence and made our way through the lot and towards the chained-up door. Luckily, it was mostly for optics, and we were able to slide right between it and the rusted metal door. Once inside, I felt a blanket of dust fall around us. Chris shined his flashlight around, illuminating several empty corridors. Old crates and piles of garbage filled the floors, and the walls were decorated with all manner of graffiti. The two of them didn't so much hesitate, and quickly moved through the forsaken building, trying to find the entrance. Down the stairs that led to the basement. Chris went first, with Devin following, and me bringing up the rear. The basement was in an even more abysmal condition than the ground floor. It was mostly clear of trash, but the walls were all but completely covered in all sorts of strange graffiti. Most of it was the usual gang signs and praises of Satan and whatnot, but there was one image that seemed to stand out. It looked like a butterfly, painted black with splotches of blue within it. It must have been scrawled on at least a dozen different places. After wandering around for a few minutes, Devin called out from us from the side. Chris and I turned to see Devin's flashlight illuminating a large hole in the wall. It looked like there had once been a door there, but someone had knocked it clear out of its frame, leaving only a gaping concrete hole. Dozens of the same image of the butterfly were painted around the hole, varying in size from only a couple inches to several feet.
Ugh. Have you seen the movie As Above, So Below?
No.
Oh my god, it's about the catacombs in France. It's a horror movie, but it's like, that's what this reminds me of. Like, just like secret passageways to the catacombs with like different, like hieroglyphics on
Oh
the
my
walls
gosh.
and stuff to like,
Ugh. This one gets creepy.
It's a very weird movie, but it's a decent movie.
I might watch it.
As above, so below. French catacombs would be another cool place to visit.
Yes.
Just thousands of graves underground.
Oh, yes. All right. Devin approached the hole and shined through it. I crept up behind him and saw a dark, narrow corridor on the other side. The ground was wet, and somewhere in the distance I heard what sounded like running water. A cold chill swept down my spine as I eyed the long, desolate passage. Even in that moment, it felt like a bad idea, but ego wouldn't let me say it. Devin stepped through the hole as if completely unaffected by the foreboding scene. Chris followed a moment later, and I reluctantly did as well. Both Chris and Devin have extensive experience in exploration and spelunking, and I chose to trust them rather than my gut. The three of us made our way into the tunnel, taking care to remain as silent as possible while observing all that we could. It felt like we were walking in a crypt and straying deeper into some place that had not seen the light of day in decades. The tunnel eventually branched, and two other passages sat opposing either side. One was I need to slow down. Sorry. One was partially caved in with rubble and wood splinters, while the other two remained mostly intact. We were about to venture down the left-hand patches when Chris called out, "Hey, look at this!" I turned and saw Chris waving toward us, toward the collapsed tunnel. He was knelt beside it, shining his flashlight onto the pile. Something shimmered within it. Chris put his hand in as the two of us approached and pulled up a small metallic chain with a heart-shaped locket. It was quite rusted, but there appeared to be a word engraved upon it. Desiree. Chris read the name and looked back at us. Wonder where she went. A small grin crept across his face, but neither of us responded. He got back to his feet, and the three of us pushed onward. A couple minutes later, we were walking down another separate concrete hallway when Devin suddenly paused. He held his hand up, motioning for us to freeze and be silent. We stayed put for several seconds, but didn't hear anything. "What is it?" Chris finally asked in a whisper. Devin remained silent a couple more seconds and then shook his head slowly. "Nothing, I guess." I saw a brief look of concern flash across his face, but I said nothing. By that point, we had traveled pretty deep into the tunnels, and I was desperately wanting to turn back. I didn't, though. I refused to be the one to back out first, as I knew neither Chris or Devin would ever have let me live it down. We pushed on around another corner and into a wide-open chamber. A few rats scurried as we entered, and the sounds of flowing water had grown louder. Around the room, there were old garments of clothing scattered about. They were filthy and looked as though they had been there a very long time. The three of us spread out in the room and began to inspect the area. I saw old jeans, a couple pair of shoes, and other random articles of clothing. The place smelled terrible, too, like mildew and sewage. I was finally about to suggest we head back when something on the wall caught my attention. Another drawing of a butterfly. I felt my heart sort of recoil in my chest as I beheld the uncanny depiction. I can't even fully explain why, but something about it was almost haunting to me. Maybe it was just the environment that did it, but I could have sworn I recognized that image from somewhere. I don't think we should be here, Devin suddenly spoke in a whisper. I turned back and saw him facing away from me a couple yards away. Chris looked back from the other side, and he and I exchanged a confused look. Chris then chuckled. "Too spooky for you, huh?" Chris asked. Devin didn't reply. He just lifted a hand and pointed to something in front of him. My heart began to pump furiously, and I quickly walked over to Devin's side. That's when I saw it. On the ground where Devin was pointing was a random assortment of what I initially thought were smooth, slender rocks. It took me only a second to recognize what they actually were. Bones. A large pile of bones. Chris saw it too, but he just scoffed. "You guys are letting this place get to you. It's just the remains of some animal." Devin immediately shook his head and picked up a piece of rebar from the ground. He then began to prod the pile, until one unique piece of bone fluttered out. There was no question anymore, as the small curved bone was unmistakably the lower jawbone of a human. Chris didn't have an answer for that. None of us did. And we stood there in a stunned silence for a moment. I swear it became so quiet I could hear my blood pumping through my veins. I then realized how vast that pile of bones truly was, and knew it was way too large to belong to a single person. Suddenly, there was a loud bang that reverberated through the cavern. It sounded like a metal door slamming hard against its frame. The sudden calamity caused me to jump, and the three of us stepped back to gaze down the tunnel where the noise had originated. In the distance, I began to hear the ever so slight sound of footsteps, wet and flapping against a wet, squalid ground. They were coming towards us. "Let's get the hell out of here," Chris suddenly spoke. We turned to do just that, but Devin continued to stare. The footsteps then suddenly halted down the labyrinth corridor ahead of us. A vague silhouette suddenly emerged in the shadows. I almost thought it was just my mind playing tricks on me, until it moved. In a split second, we lost all sense of rationale and composure, and the three of us panicked and lurched into a sprint. All our thoughts of exploration vanished immediately as our minds flooded with adrenaline and terror. I ran as fast and as frantic as I ever had in my life. We rounded the corner to retrace our steps back out, using only our measly flashlight to guide our way. Chris and Devin were ahead of me, and suddenly I felt my foot fall into something unstable. I felt my ankle twist and give out beneath me with a painful crack before plummeting hard into the wet ground. My phone fell from my hand, landing so hard that I heard it shatter on impact. Chris and Devin didn't hesitate, and within seconds watched their lights disappear down the corridor. I screamed out for them, but they must have not heard me. As my only source of light had broken, I had found myself alone in the dark. But not as alone as I would have liked. I tried hauling myself to my feet, hoping the adrenaline would be enough to overcome the searing pain that mangled in my mangled ankle. But it wasn't. My jaw clamped down hard, and I fell back to the ground with a whimper. I was about to try again, driven by the terror I felt, when I heard a rock scamper across the ground somewhere behind me. I froze and felt my hands trembling beneath me. Footsteps echoed behind me, and I could do nothing in my injured state aside from try to remain hidden and pray. I knew it wouldn't work, and whatever it was seemed to know exactly where I was, even in the pitch black. It strolled up behind me, stopping just a couple feet away. I learned the true meaning of deer in the headlights in that moment, as I found myself so absolutely petrified that I couldn't even move. Please, I'm sorry. I'll never come back. I promise. Please just let me go. My words echoed through the dark halls, but there was no response. I thought I was about to be murdered by some deranged, sewer-dwelling lunatic or torn apart by some otherworldly entity. It took a few more steps toward me. Suddenly, I felt something grab my shoulder. It was cold, so unbelievably cold that it almost felt like a hornet's sting against my skin. It gripped down tighter, causing an immense pressure against my skin. It may have just been my frantic mind trying to cope with the traumatic situation, but I could have sworn that I felt something then. It was something more than a physical pain, deeper and more personal, like someone allowed me a glimpse into the depths of their soul. I can't explain it. Get out, they'll find you. The voice had spoken sounded like that of a young girl. Not threatening or malicious in any way. If anything, it sounded like a voice filled with despair, an all-encompassing sorrow that I suppose I can never fully comprehend. She then let go of my shoulder, taking the pain with her as the footsteps sauntered away back into the tunnel. Once again, I was alone in the dark. It was all I could feel to just sit there and contemplate what I had just witnessed. After a few minutes, I think the shock began to wear off, and I heard another noise down the tunnel. This time it came from the opposite direction, accompanied by a light. Zach, holy shit, man, are you alright? It was Devin, but I didn't know how to even respond. He knelt down to help me to my feet. I felt my ankle creak as I moved, and a nerve shot in immense pain through my leg. I would have fallen back down if he hadn't been there holding me up. We turned to leave the place when I saw his light flash off something that was on the ground behind us. Wait, what is that? I asked. Devin turned back, and the two of us stared down at the silver ring laying on the ground. It was worn pretty heavily, and beside it I noticed 2 bare footprints in the muck. Devin wanted to leave, but I demanded he let me grab the ring first. Devin hauled me back outside, and we found Chris waiting for us on the middle floor. The two of them guided me back to the Jeep, and we got out of there. None of us really said much as we drove out of there. I went to the hospital soon after and found that I had broken my ankle. As I spent time recovering from the incident, I found myself unable to move past it. The words she had spoken just echoed endlessly in my mind. After all the rumors of monsters and demons that haunted the tunnels, could it have really been true? Was that really what had just touched me that night? I can't explain it, but I felt like her words weren't just a threat. They sounded more like a desperate warning. Devin came over a few nights later, and I told him what I had seen. He was obviously skeptical at first, but after my continued insistence and swearing on my life, he finally came around. He admitted to me that he had also found something disturbing. He said he was browsing 4chan when he stumbled upon a thread that caught his eye. He said a few users were talking about this sex trafficking organization that operated all around the United States. He said it quickly developed into conspiracies, talking about all sorts of prominent people that were supposedly involved with loose connections. Then there was one thing that stood out: the butterfly. Apparently, Anon believed this butterfly symbol was like their specific symbol. Devin said the images they posted looked almost identical to the ones we had seen painted in the tunnels. I didn't want to believe it was connected, but I couldn't deny the possibility. I wanted to call the cops, but Devin refused, saying they'd never believe our story. He had a point, but if what we suspected was going on was true, then we had to do something. Unfortunately, my broken ankle made me practically useless, and regardless, there was just no way in hell I was going to end up back down in those tunnels. Devin ended up leaving that night without us deciding on what to do. I tried calling Devin the next day, but he didn't answer. I figured he just was busy with other things. But a few days later, he finally got back to me. Devin texted me during the day saying he desperately needed to see me. He was almost frantic when he arrived. He looked like he hadn't slept at all since the night we went down there. He kept saying that he had to do something, seeming almost remorseful for his actions. He then did something I had never seen him do. He started to cry. I couldn't...
I'd cry too.
I couldn't just leave it alone, man. Cops never would have believed us about all this. I had to do something. I put my hand on his back and tried calming him down, but it didn't seem to do much. Devin, what did you do? He shuddered, and then he took a deep breath as he wiped the tears. I went back. My eyes turned to reflect his mutual horror. What? I had to, man. I had to find her, to see... He broke down again, shaking his head back and forth. I found her. She's gone. Devin broke again, and I actually hugged him as I tried reassuring that it wasn't his fault. None of it was, and yet that didn't stop the anguish from pouring into my gut. Devin also mentioned he had lit a large fire on the premises of the entry point as he left. He figured that would be enough to lure the cops there, and he was right. Eventually, they took a team down into the tunnels, and they discovered what we had feared the most. Multiple bodies were recovered from the tunnels, most of them young girls, but there were also a few men in the midst. They had been down there a long time, with most of the corpses having long since become skeletal. Whoever it was that was responsible for their deaths was long gone. That would have been heartbreaking enough on its own, but then it got worse. They found one corpse that was much newer than the others, another young girl of 16, and although partially decomposed, they were able to identify her. She had been there about a month, and the autopsy confirmed all the most horrible things that I dreaded to hear. Things so terrible that I won't even justify them by putting them into words. Her name was Desiree. I looked up her full name online, and after doing some digging, I found her still active Facebook profile. Her friends and family had plastered her wall with the well wishes and grief at her fate. She also had a video on there where her and some friends were on a trampoline messing around. My heart sank like a lead weight as I heard her speak. It was a voice I will never forget. The same voice of the girl that had spoken to me that night in the tunnels. But that was impossible, as she had already been dead for weeks by the time we went down there. I don't know how to explain it, but I know what I heard, and now I will never forget. Police investigation is still ongoing, but considering the recent events of the incompetence that have led to the apparent suicide of high-profile sex trafficking operators, I wouldn't hold your breath. No doubt these people will just lay low for a while and then eventually spread their malice elsewhere. Portland is infamous for sex trafficking, and it seems this group may have been or still are at their epicenter. It's hard to say whether they'll ever be found and whether Desiree will ever have any form of justice. This revelation hit me pretty hard, but not as hard as it hit Devin. I haven't seen or heard from him since the night he told me all about this. Last thing he said to me before he left was something along the lines of, "Something needs to be done." I don't know where he is now.
Oh my god.
I really wish I could give some kind of closure to all this, like there's some silver lining or justice for Desiree and all the others, but I guess things just don't always work out that way. For now, I can only hope that no one else ever has to suffer from something as terrible as Desiree did. We set out on our expedition into the tunnels, having heard stories of demons and monsters. We found out the stories are true, but not in the way we expected. I know it sounds cliche, but it really is people that are the real demons, and it always has been. Beware the butterfly men and stay far away from the Portland tunnels.
Oh my god.
Isn't that creepy as shit?
I have goosebumps all over my body.
I do too, and I was just reading it off of a screen.
Holy shit. First of all, thank you so much for letting us read your story on the show.
Thank you, Zacharias Frost. You are an amazing writer. Holy shit.
Oh my god, I would not be able to put something that life-changing into words.
Yeah.
So, good on you. I also know that you, being the researcher that you are, would not read a story that you didn't think was legitimate.
Yeah, it sounds pretty fucking legitimate to me.
Sounds really legitimate. And while you were telling the rest of that story there, I'm like Googling this Desiree girl.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
I am also curious. I wouldn't be surprised if he changed names, though, to keep the families
to protect
out.
her identity.
Right.
Yes, absolutely.
But,
You
I
are
mean,
right.
either way, it's fucking scary. Like, human trafficking
And we
does
know that
exist.
this is, I was like, this isn't something that's like foreign.
Right. It's not like, you know, oh, there's this Mothman who I talked to and he said these things. Like, human trafficking happens all the fucking time. So anyway, hope you listeners enjoyed that episode and the story from Zacharias Frost. He or she, I don't know, is a great writer.
Oh my god, yes, and thank you again.
Yeah, if any of you have some super crazy stories to tell us, like that one, I mean, I'm not going to hold you to those standards, but
I don't think anybody should hold themselves to those standards.
He must be a
insane.
professional. Look for his book coming out soon. Just kidding, I really don't know. Anyway.
About the Portland tunnels.
Send us your stories. We want to read all of your stories as well.
Yes.
You can send it to twistedanduncorked@hotmail.com.
Yes, and you can link tree us everywhere else. Social media. Follow us. Check out our Patreon. We got lots of fun stuff every month.
So many fun things.
So many things. Lots of bonus things. So, and we're cheaper than Netflix, as we've plugged a few times.
Yes, definitely cheaper than HBO. Oh my gosh.
How much is HBO every month?
$15 a month.
Oh my god!
Oh,
Not cool,
so
guys.
expensive.
But, yes, send us your stories. Write in those reviews. If you send us a screenshot of your review, you'll get a sticker.
Yay.
And a little personal thank you from Sierra and I.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, next week we got a new topic coming your way.
Yay.
Yay! And we're so excited. So yeah.
And
Anything else?
until then, keep it twisted.
Hey, I'm Talisa.
And I'm Sarah,
Welcome to The Shit Show.
a half-assed true crime podcast.
We're two moms who run complete shit shows while talking about everyone's favorite subject, true crime.
Join us each week as we talk about the highs and lows of each case and everything in between.
Look for us on your favorite podcasting platform.
You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Shit Show TCP.
Thanks for listening.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.